So welcome back. I haven't done a video in a while. It's tax season, pretty much been pretty busy with another unusual tax year, I guess. I got some new studio here that I'm kind of working on, so let me know your thoughts if you like this versus those ad hoc videos I was making in the past. But this one I want to go through the new bill that was passed a couple days ago, the American Rescue Plan Act. And I'm just going to cover a couple of topics that's going to impact individuals. Most of it's going to be in the 2021 tax year, and only one topic that's going to impact the 2020 tax year. So if you've already filed your tax returns, it may impact you and you may have to go back and amend. But another point I want to come across or kind of discuss here is the idea of rushing to kind of get your tax returns done and kind of mark that box checked saying that you're complete versus kind of waiting to make sure all benefits are in the return. And what we've seen, and I know last year and this year are two unusual years, and we may not see this again, but those that kind of rushed and filed their returns, we're seeing a lot of them that are going to have to become amended. So it's not a bad thing to extend returns. It's not looked bad upon with the IRS, just as long as you're paying on time, you're paying at the extension. But with this year, especially with the ERC credits impacting businesses, and if businesses that have filed their tax returns and that are applying right now for the ERC credits for 2020 tax year, they may have to go back and amend. And if you're an S Corp or an LLC, that also impacts all the other K1s too. So there's going to be more work involved if you're rushing versus taking time, making sure that all the benefits are intact. So just wanted to pass that message along and enjoy the video here. Thank you. Okay, the American Rescue Plan. Let's go to it here. So the first item here is unemployment, and this only relates to 2020 tax year as of what we know right now. So if you received unemployment benefits, the first $10,200 of it is not subject to tax if your AGI is below $150,000. And I'll show you where to find that AGI number. I make reference to it a lot in this presentation here. And in calculating your AGI, you would not include the unemployment benefits that you did receive. Now, if you've already filed your 2020 tax return, you did include unemployment benefits that you did receive, you can kind of go back and amend the return. The second item in this new bill that was passed is the economic impact payments, or as we like to call them, stimmy checks. You'll see this in social media and different blogs. So here are the amounts depending on how you're filing, and there are going to be limits. So if your AGI is $80,000 or less, you're going to get some type of an amount here. If you're married, filed joint, and your AGI is $160,000, here are the amounts that you'll get. And just say your AGI was $159,000, you're probably not going to get the entire amount, but you'll get something. And then here's where you can find the adjusted gross income amount on your tax returns. In 2019, it's line 8B. In 2020, it's line 11. Now, in terms of a strategy here to kind of maximize this, you may want to look at how you've been filing. So you may be filing married filed joint, but it might be more advantageous for you to do married filed separate to kind of get these benefits. So make sure you work with your CPA on trying to kind of maximize this. Next up, the child tax credit. So it was increased to $3,000 from $2,000 per child, and they also increased the age to age 18. So it used to be 17 was the limit. Now, some of you will probably, if you qualify, you'll probably start getting advance payments from the IRS between July and October, November this year. So they're actually going to be prepaying this. Now, make sure that you plan ahead, and you're going to get a letter from the IRS stating what they paid you, because you're going to use that letter when you prepare your 2021 tax return. Again, you got to qualify for it, and if your AGI kind of reach certain limits, you may not get it. But this is important because you're going to start getting checks from the IRS. It's important to kind of keep track of, are these the stimmy checks? Are these the child tax credits? Now, if your child was born in 2021, you're not going to get these advance payments. And I would say if you do qualify, not everyone is going to get these advance payments. So if you don't get an advance payment, but you do qualify to get the credit, when you do your 2021 tax return, that's where you'll get the benefit. So, some of you are going to get that benefit up front, and others, you're going to get it on the back end when you do your 2021 tax return. And then here are the phase out limits, single AGI, 75,000. And then it starts phasing out once you go past these amounts here that I've listed. And potentially, if you're married, filed joint, and your AGI exceeds 400,000, there's a good chance you're probably not going to get the credit. And if you're single, filing single, if your AGI is over 200,000, you're probably not going to get this credit either. And this only applies as of now for the 2021 tax year. The dependent care credit. So they increased the eligible benefits to 50%. It used to be 35%, and the eligible benefits is capped at $8,000 per child for the first child if you have one child, and then $16,000 for two or more children. And you can see this is a huge increase in dependent care credits. This is what it used to be in 2020 and in prior years. Of course, there's a phase out. So here are the AGI limits. Now, this phase out used to be $15,000, so they definitely increased it. But if families filing joint, you're probably going to get some type of benefit if your AGI is between 125 and 500,000. But I doubt if you're anything over 400,000, it's going to be a pretty small amount, if anything. And what's another great benefit here is, it used to be kind of like a benefit or a deduction. Now it's a credit, meaning that after you take this credit, we'll call it a credit now, the dependent care credit, and your tax is less than what you paid in, then you'll actually get a refund. So prior to this new bill, if you kind of reached like a zero amount, and you had some additional benefits over, kind of capped at that zero. So now you could potentially get another refund. And then for employee provided dependent care benefits, they increased that from 5,000 to 10,000 for amounts being excluded. And then the earned income credit, essentially, you've probably seen this a lot in the paper or in the, online and stuff, but this essentially kind of provides incentive for people to go and work. So they increase this credit for individuals at age 19 instead of 25, and there's no maximum. Of course, there's phase outs. I can tell you the phase outs it's like $50,000. So if you make over that amount, this doesn't apply to you. And then student loan forgiveness. So as we talked about during the PPP presentations here, when any type of debt gets forgiven, that's included as taxable income. So in this new law, they said between the years of 2021 and 2025, if a student has their loan forgiven, that's not going to be included in their taxable income, which is great. But that's all that what this says. So be careful here. It's not saying that we're going to forgive your student debt. It just says if you got it forgiven, and most students don't get their loans forgiven, that it's not included in taxable income. Now, when President Biden was running for office, he was promising that every student would get $10,000 of student loan debt forgiven, right? We have not seen that yet. Congress hasn't been approved this. This was one of his promises during his bid for presidency. So with this being passed, this could happen or it could not happen. So that's with the student loan forgiveness, that's all that we're saying right here. That's it. If you have questions, please visit us on our website and reach out to us. Thanks. Okay, the American Rescue Plan. Let's go to it here. So the first item here is unemployment, and this only relates to 2020 tax year. as of what we know right now. So if you received unemployment benefits, the first $10,200 of it is not subject to tax if your AGI is below $150,000. And I'll show you where to find that AGI number. I make reference to it a lot in this presentation here. And in calculating your AGI, you would not include the unemployment benefits that you did receive. Now, if you've already